today's topic. The Budget Surplus of the Government by Robert Kiyosaki, Increase Our Financial IQ. And in the USA, we have the Democrats and we have the Republics. So this is a general overview, according to the book, how the Democrats manage the budget and how the Republicans manage the budget. First, the Democrats, they love tax and they love to spend. Second is the Democrats, they love to spend on more social programs like Social Security and Medicare. Third key takeaway is that the problem is the social programs only grow bigger because they fail to solve the problem they are created to address. Fourth key takeaway, in order to counteract their budget, which is high, which is increase in budget, then this vicious cycle continues. Fifth key takeaway, mediocrity is rewarded and efficiency is punished. Now let's take a look at how Republicans manage their budget. First key takeaway is that the Republicans, they tend to borrow and spend. Second key takeaway is that they want to expand the economy by flooding with money supply. However, the book calls it funny money. Funny because the money supply is in the form of debt. Third, it's like flooding the economy of legal counterfeit money. Fourth, the extra money looks like increase in income, but in reality, it is increase in debt in the form of T-bills, bonds, which ultimately diminishes the prospect of the surplus. Fifth key takeaway is that many in the middle class do the same thing by using their home as an ATM. Every time our property values go up, what do we do? And why do the property values go up? Because the money decreases in value. So then your $1 is not $1 anymore. So you have to buy it. Your property value goes up higher. So with that equity in your primary home being a lot higher, a lot of the middle class, what they do is they borrow against their home because they have a lot of equity there now. And the problem with that is majority of the middle class, they pay off their credit cards, which are liabilities. Credit card used to purchase either for another boat or to go on vacations or to purchase a car or to purchase on things that do not provide additional income. So now you have to pay more for your home because you have that added money, that refinance money or that line of credit money from your home, which you use as an ATM to pay for your liabilities. Either you went on vacation, you got a new car, or you did some improvement in your home. Seventh key takeaway, it is impossible to earn less, borrow and spend more, and create that surplus. So hopefully you learned something. Let me know in the comment section below what you learned, and stay tuned for more of the Ria and Alka show.
Yeah, you know what? I have a couple of questions actually. So it's interesting point. You say that you could use your home as an ATM. So how can we do that? How can we use your home as an ATM?
Yes, that's a great question. Now, with today's economy, if you look at it, we compare it. Okay, so today versus before COVID. Before COVID, the home prices were, let's say, 100,000 for your home. I'm just giving out an arbitrary number. So let's say your home before COVID was 100,000, a 2-bedroom, 1-bath home. Now, during COVID, because people were told to stop working, the economy shut down for a couple of weeks and months. So there was no production of new buildings. There was no renovation. Everything was to stand still. The economy stopped. What happened then? Because there is more demand, people still need a place to live. People go and travel and relocate to certain places, but the supply of the housing was minimized because we were told to stop production. So then what happens? There is so much demand that your property value now goes up. So before COVID, your value is 100,000, for example. I'm just throwing out the number. And now after COVID, that 100,000, I've seen properties that from 100,000, they're double the price. People were selling it for 2 times the value. So that 100,000 is now 200,000. So what happened there? It's still the same house. But because of inflation, because of the invincible tax, because of the strong demand out there, what did the government do during COVID? The governments all over the world were printing money. That's why they call it funny money. It's debt, right? And who's paying for it? We, the taxpayers.
Yeah, we pay for it.
So what happens now? The value of your home goes up. So you can refinance it and tell to the bank, hey, Mr. Banker, look at the properties comparables in my market. My property values is way up. My neighbor here sold his house for 200,000. What do you think is the property value in my home? Of course, it's not anymore 100,000. It is based on the comparable markets around your community. If you have a single family home, you're going to be affected by your neighbor out there. So if they sold for 200,000, now you have instant 100,000 equity. If you have 100,000 that you owed on your property and now your property is worth 200,000, you have 100,000. So that's where we call it ATM, because 200, which is now the value of your home, because why? Everything in your neighborhood sold for 200 without you doing anything. It just so happened that COVID happened and it created this invincible tax, this inflation. So now you have that 100,000. So 200 minus 100,000, you have 100,000 of equity just by owning that home in your property. So then you can take that 100,000. But now, because you took that 100,000, your mortgage is no longer 100,000. Your mortgage is now higher. It's based on the 200,000 because you are borrowing against your home. And that's why they call it ATM, because you can use that equity to either.
So you can pull it out. So basically you can pull it out when you want, pretty much.
Yes.
Just like an ATM, you can withdraw it when you want. So in this case, you could do the same. You can just take it out when you want to.
Yes. Bingo. You are right.
So, when you say you can borrow against your home, now, like you do, like you gave that example, and other people, they borrow against their home. So what does this mean? Is this like a line of credit that you can use to maybe to buy another property or whatever? But people, they use the line of credit. What is the advantage of a line of credit? Why would you use that against your home?
So there's two things, right? You can either refinance, say, hey, Mr. Banker, I can tell you during the COVID, right? A lot of people were refinancing instead of taking out the line of credit. Now, line of credit, it's like an ATM where, because you have an equity in your home, that equity in your home, you can pull out anywhere. And just like an ATM, you take it out anytime you want until up to the maximum that you're allowed, until your credit limit. Now, because during COVID, the rate were so low, you can borrow. The bank were giving you less than 3% or 3% to refinance their home. So a lot of people were refinancing instead of getting the line of credit because their rate, let's say I bought the property in 2016. The 2016 to 2018, the interests were so high. I can tell from my example, I could buy home and my interest rate was 5%. Now, because COVID happens, the interest rate were so low. The government printed money and they also dropped the rate, the interest rate. So now what people were doing, where they were giving back their old loan and saying, hey, Mr. Banker, I want a new loan on this property of mine because their rates are so low. So what they did, from a 5% interest rate, Now it went down to 3%. Is a lot of difference when you're paying, you know, 1,000 mortgage. That 2% difference could mean $500 money into your pocket by just returning the old loan to the bank and saying, hey, Mr. Banker, I want the 3% on my property. So a lot of them were doing refinance. The line of credit, what usually that does is, because now the interest rate is so high, if I want to borrow money, it's going to be around 6 or 7%. So no way will I get a new loan. But what I'm going to tell my banker is that, hey, Mr. Banker, I have equity in this property. I would like for a line of credit, which is like an ATM. And the line of credit interest is variable. It depends on the Fed rate, if they want to increase the interest rate or they want to decrease it. So that's the only drawback. If you refinance, your interest rate would be fixed for a long time. But with a line of credit, your interest rate is variable. It's going to go up, it's going to go down. But most likely, because of the high inflation in our market and what the Fed rate to decrease the inflation is to increase the rate. So if you have a line of credit, most likely your interest rate is going to go up and up and up.
So basically, you're better off to refinance. Again, the refinancing the property and not the line of credit, because like you said, if your line of credit can like fluctuate, then you're going to be in that risky position. So I think refinance, refinance could be like a better option for most people.
Yes, you just need to shop around, because what others are doing too is that they can do the line of credit variable rate at a certain point in time. And then when the market cools down, right, when the interest rate goes down, then they can go back to the bank and say, hey, Mr. Banker, the interest rates now are more favorable that I can refinance the property. So as long as you have that leeway, that time, and you have enough equity, then you can do a line of credit. You don't have to use it. It's like an ATM. And then when the rates are lower, then you can go back to the bank and say, hey, Mr. Banker, rates are low. I'd like to.
Exactly. Then you can, so in that way, when you have like a margin, leave a little bit of the leeway to allow you to do like, what you want, because, you've left a little bit of space, rather than sort of maximizing on everything and risking yourself. But I think, what, this was great. And I think I really like it. Guys, if you, love the value of what Ria has to share, what she shared, and what are you doing right now? How are you going about budgeting yourselves? Are you, buying a home? What are you in the shopping in the market for? So, it's great to implement what we learn. And knowledge is one thing, but it's the implementation. You need to take action to really implement the knowledge that you are learning. So that's how you're going to learn. So thank you, Ria, for sharing. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We've come to the end of another Alka and Ria show. We always value you. So thank you so much for always tuning in. But you know what? We're going to see you same time, same place, Monday morning, and have a wonderful weekend. Have a great weekend. Take the time off to really unwind to what you are learning, because the more you learn, the more you grasp what we teach you, the more better off you are going to be. So have a great weekend, and we will see you come Monday morning.